AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie J. Block.
And I'm Mary Lee Fairbanks.
Welcome to Season 3 of Stages Podcast,
where we continue to bring creation and connection to center stage. The biggest day for Broadway fans returns to New York City's Theater District on Sunday, October 1st. The Broadway Flea Market and Grand Auction unites all theater fans, whether they're on stage, behind the scenes, or in the audience, in their hunt for Broadway-themed treasures, unique experiences, and theater magic. Theater lovers of every kind will have the opportunity to take home a one-of-a-kind memento, an autographed collectible, and bid on an exclusive Broadway experience, and items including props, costume pieces, opening night theater packages, and so much more. The Broadway Flea Market and Grand Auction will run 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. with tables on West 44th and West 45th Street. The silent auction is in Schubert Alley, and the live Grand Auction wrapping up the day at 5 p.m. in Times Square Pedestrian Plaza between 45th and 46th Streets. For more info, visit BroadwayCares.org. Don't miss it.
Impressive, thoughtful, thought-provoking, beyond her years, the future of Broadway. Forbes magazine included her in their 30 under 30 in Hollywood and Entertainment list 4 damn years ago, and she has yet to turn 30. She has garnered the respect of artistic directors, prolific composers, actors, and critics alike. She has trained in the most respected institutions, Stanford and Harvard, and was mentored by Diane Paulus and Rachel Chafkin. She has created some of the most noteworthy and immersive theatrical experiences in the past several years and continues to reimagine existing theatrical properties with fresh new eyes. I had the great privilege working alongside her in our, and I'm emphasizing our, Sunset Boulevard at the Kennedy Center last February. When we met over Zoom, I found her to be prepared and present, reflective and responsive. I remember admitting to her my concerns about having such a youthful director help shape a show that was about an aging actress. She listened, acknowledged my concerns, and respectfully responded with, "Sunset Boulevard is a story of ageism. Isn't that what you're doing to me right now?" In that moment, I knew I had found the perfect director for our Sunset, and I knew I would be embarking on the project with a brave, strong, and smart director and advisor. Her bravery and strength shows themselves outside the entertainment world as well. She serves as Chief of Staff for Human First Coalition, an organization dear to her heart, as it is dedicated to providing humanitarian aid in Afghanistan. At 29, she will continue to make all the who's who's lists. She will be a creator who helps shape and change our industry, and I believe our world. So I'm so honored to welcome Sammi Cannold to the podcast. Sammi Cannold to stage, please. Sammi, can we have you to stage? Thank you for your time. I know you're a busy beaver.
Gosh. Thank you. I'm so honored and so excited. Thanks for having me.
That
Okay.
response, it was hard for me to stay quiet when you said, "Isn't that what you're doing to me right now?" Awesome.
And I felt so privileged to be your age and to be in rooms that were creating workshops that would soon come to Broadway. But my presence in those rooms were always as a vessel. You know, people would put on me their ideas and I would hope to translate them in the right way or the way that they thought was right for the project. To have a voice at your age to say, hey, this is how I see it. This is how I'd like to try it. Where in your early age did you know that your voice was going to best serve artistic endeavors from a director's chair?
Well, first of all, I'll just say thank you so much for that intro, which I'll go cry about later. But it really means so much.
Truth.
Thank you. But second, I think, age is something that I think about all the time, I guess, for obvious reasons. I guess my first answer would be that I think about it a lot in terms of my upbringing. Like, as you said, my mom is a theater producer and my dad is a film producer. And so I've grown up surrounded by this industry. And Malcolm Gladwell has this 10,000 hour rule where he
Love
says
him.
that in order, obsessed.
Yep. You're a master after 10,000 hours.
After 10,000 hours. And I think that when I think about myself and my privilege, I think like, oh, my 10,000 hours started very early. Like it started at 3 when I was sitting in a tech watching, Michael Mayer tech, who gets to do that at 3. And so I feel that sort of running head start has sort of given me different resources to be able to understand how to operate in a room, how to operate in an industry that's very idiosyncratic and that you really have to have a certain knowledge and skill set and etiquette that's kind of hard to learn. So I'm really grateful for that. And I also think that in a way, for me at least, it's become sort of age has become a little bit of a calling card or a superpower in a odd way, where I think that I remember the very first professional production that I directed was this concert of Ragtime that was on Ellis Island, and I was 22.
Right.
The music director, who was also quite young, and I were very nervous that the cast was going to find out our actual ages. And so we went to Macy's and we bought all these clothes that we thought would make ourselves look old.
You bought an Ellen Tracy blouse and a St. John's blazer. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, should I wear glasses? Like, I don't need glasses, but maybe that will help. And we showed up in our outfits and we were like, wow, we look so old. And
meanwhile, you look like you were going out for Halloween.
I know. And I mean, look at me now. I just generally look very young, but on the first day of rehearsal, Playbill published an article on the homepage that said, meet the 22-year-old director behind Ragtime on Ellis Island. And I died. But what ended up happening was that it actually sort of turned into this thing that people got excited about. I think that they were excited about sort of what it meant to have a sort of new young voice of something that already existed. But I think that what I always try to sort of take as a grain of salt with that is that, yes, new young voices were all very exciting. And also experience is real. Like if I walk into a room and say, I know how to do this and I don't, that's bad. So I really have to do my homework.
And you're also, you're a collaborator. We would shoot ideas back and forth. I could bring practical knowledge and I could bring certain experiences. And then you'd come back and bring something else that I could never have seen from my walk of life and where I was in my sort of age space. And I find that has got to be in your life as well. I was always told the way you handle your personal relationships is going to mirror how you marry your professional existence and how you marry your financial existence. I mean, they all mirror each other. So do you find that to be the case? What you bring to your personal life does reflect a lot of what you bring to your professional life?
I think so. And I think that in many ways they're so merged, as they are for so many of us in theater. I think where for the longest time I didn't know what the distinction between those two things was. And now I know a little bit more. But I think that what you're talking about, particularly on Sunset, feels like it was something that was made possible only by you being willing to have that conversation with me, because I have been in situations where I'm working with people who have vastly more experience than I do. It's a very different dynamic. It's sort of the openness to come in to say, I understand you come from less experience and sort of a newer, worldview, but let's hear each other's ideas. So I think it requires both sides to sort of come to the table, which is very exciting when it works.
Just from listening to you speak and seeing some of the things that you've done, it's really clear that you're not just a director and an artist, you're an anthropologist. You go out in the world, you are curious about other cultures, curious about different perspectives, curious about pattern recognition inside of those things. And you bring that to what you do. And to go back to the Ragtime thing, which I think that story is hysterical. Yeah. And I think, I could just see her in her blazer.
It was a blazer.
Of course it was. I think when you go into something pretending that you have answers that you don't have, it's so clear to everyone. It's so clear. But when you have the centeredness and the strength to go, I actually don't know how that works, or actually don't know how that is, but I can figure that out, then people trust you. Because you're being just completely upfront and honest. You're not pretending. You're not putting on this facade and wearing it like a blazer, right? You're just in there being who you are and being honest. And whether a person is 22 or 52, that trait creates a leader, and it makes people want to be led by you. I want to talk a little bit about EVITA at A.R.T. that you had just directed. It's another perfect example of where you're not just a director, but you're also an anthropologist. I know you did a ton of research for that show, but I also know you really infused the production with the true sense of Argentina. You used authentic accents. You used real Argentine tango dancers. Let's talk a little bit about your experience with EVITA.
Absolutely. It came initially from a place of passion, and because when I was a teenager, I saw the revival on Broadway and I became obsessed. I mean, I like it was so annoying to people. I mean, it was like all I wanted to talk about was EVITA. I got to direct it for my thesis in college, and as part of that, I got a grant from my university to go to Argentina for a week to do some research. And that was really from like a nerdy interest place rather from a like, I feel an obligation as the director of the show to go do this. But what I found when I went there for 1 week was that there's a treasure trove of research that only sort of serves to enrich any time you're telling a story like that. And so when I got the opportunity to direct it again in 2019, and this time at New York City Center, it was sort of a no-brainer to build research into that. And so over the years through, the funding of various donors and folks who've been so generous, I've gotten to go back 3 more times and do a lot of research. It's still passion driven, but it's also now for me very driven by the fact that I understand I'm not Argentine. This is a history that's not mine personally. And I want to make sure that I'm doing it justice as best as I possibly can. And so it's become sort of a mission that's related to and separate from the show itself.
In your TEDx talk, you talk about your experience when you met Evita's nurse, Maria Ojeda. Was that her name?
Maria Ojeda, yeah.
Yeah. She held your hands and she transferred the energy to you. You have to, I see, to me, that's not only is that what theater is, just this transfer of energy, but it's also just what our humanness is and what makes us stand apart from all this AI drama that's going on now. There is no way you can replicate that transfer of energy from person to person, from heart to heart, when you have a real understanding and a basis of a love for something together. That can't be replicated. And that story you told, to me, it just really struck me because I very much believe in energies and all of that.
Oh, yeah. At the time, this woman, Maria Eugenia, was 92 years old. She's 97 now. The show's associate director, Rebecca, and I went to visit her at her home, and we got to have a lot of conversations with her about what it was like to care for Ava while she was dying of cancer in 1952. And she shared like extraordinary stories for 2-3 hours. And then at a certain point, she said, I want you to know that when EVITA was dying, I held her hand at the moment of her death. And because you're about to go tell her story in New York City to all these people, I want you to give me your hand so I can transfer the energy that I got from her to you. And we like lost it. And she took our hand. There's a picture of her holding our hands, and that was really meaningful. And we've since gone back to see her twice. She's in a nursing home in Buenos Aires and she's sharp as ever. And it's really wild to be able to like speak to someone who was part of history, or rather history that's very meaningful and important.
But what I love about that is that she's being tender with you as a nurse, but she's also being a protector still 70 years later of Eva. That to me, because my husband is Uruguayan, that sort of Latin American, that South American passion where it is intertwined with great tenderness, great love, but there's also great responsibility. So I can only imagine when she's touching your hands and saying, now this is yours to kind of keep and nurture and protect. That had to also have felt like a beautiful, heavy responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, it was something that I was like, oh, I better not mess up.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why we've been so intense about the research, because I really just want to make sure we're doing this story justice. It also really hit for me this last time that we went back and we were having a conversation with her about Ava's cancer and how it manifested and how awful it was. And as she was describing this, she just started to like weep, talking about, her death from cancer. And I was like, this happened over 70 years ago. And the pain of it and what Ava meant to this woman is still so potent
Alive.
And so fresh for her, that if I am going to say, I think I can tell this story, I must capture that ferocity and like intensity of what Ava meant. So.
Did you have many conversations also with Andrew Lloyd Webber and the Really Useful Group? This property of EVITA is so beloved throughout the world. There had to have been a lot of deep conversations with him and, his property, his company.
Yeah, tons. And it's something that I feel really lucky to get to talk to him, and Tim Rice has been really, really helpful. Lets me ask him any question I want, and it's really useful because that was not
really useful.
Because I want to, not only do I want to make sure I'm respecting the history, but this property, this piece of musical theater means so much to so many people that I want to honor that. I want to honor Andrew's gorgeous score. I want to make sure, we're so lucky. Kristen Blodgett is our music supervisor, and she's been working with Andrew for over 30 years. It's really exciting. And I think that, of course, sort of in figuring out how do we do, shows evolve, and the context they're told in evolves over time. And I think that that's something that Really Useful has been an amazing partner in. Like, for example, we, through many conversations with our company and members of our creative team, made the decision to pronounce everything that we could authentically. So we say, don't cry for me, Argentina, not Argentina, right? Because that is how our company members would pronounce it, how it would be pronounced in Argentina. But that had to be a conversation with the rights holders because it was written with a hard G. How do you say to Andrew, we know, the emphasis musically speaking is here on the hard G, but is there a way we could make it work with the soft G so that we could sort of get the best of all worlds? And they've been really amazing partners in conversations like that.
I don't know if you can talk about it yet, but is it moving forward? Is it coming to New York? Is it something that you are able to discuss?
I wish I could discuss. I've been told to keep my mouth shut.
Zip it.
Zip
All
it.
Right.
But
we'll
of course,
and she's taking direction like a
I'm
good.
taking direction.
That's right.
Yeah.
But with this EVITA, and then you have How to Dance in Ohio, which is coming to Broadway at the Belasco this fall. You're also planning a production of your wedding, which is a whole other, it's truly an event, isn't it?
It's wild. I had no idea. I was like, I direct things all the time. It's not going to be hard. And then I was like, oh, this is very hard.
Your fiance, Safi, is an extraordinary human as well, humanitarian as well, has lived experiences that we can only imagine, or stories that we read in the newspaper. Can you speak a little bit about him and how extraordinary he is and what you guys have lived through these past several years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, I'm the biggest Safi fangirl.
Her face has changed, everybody. You should see her face.
He was born in Pakistan in a refugee camp. He's an Afghan refugee, lived there for 17 years, and then came to the US when he was a teenager. And then he went back and went into Afghanistan with special forces. He served there for 4 years. And then he came back, went to Georgetown, and now he is a humanitarian serving Afghanistan, particularly in the wake of the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban, which happened 2 years ago yesterday on the day that we're recording this. Yeah.
Yep.
He sort of dove into action and said, "Oh, my family's over there. My friends are over there. How can I serve this community that is so important to me?"
So his family is back in Afghanistan. They're not in Pakistan. They moved back to Afghanistan at a certain point.
They're all over. Like his parents are here. I'm actually at their house right now in the States. And most of his siblings are here, but he has many cousins in Afghanistan, and some of them we're still trying to get out 2 years later. And with him, who has he has all these connections to the State Department. He works with the executive branch, and it's still very hard to get people out.
Safi, when he went back, he was held hostage by the Taliban for over 100 days in captivity. Yes.
Yeah. So August 2021, the Taliban took Kabul, and then the U.S. pulled out. Safi, for a number of reasons, was asked to go back in twice to help make channels for humanitarian aid to get into the country. Everybody knew he was going back in. He was protected from all sides. Theoretically, he had 8 bodyguards. Me being new to this world, I was like, what is happening? Why are you going to Afghanistan?
Right.
And he said to me, look, like, if you're born in Mount Kisco, New York, if somebody said to you, if Mount Kisco was a war zone and you said, I have to go back to help my family eat, and I said to you, why are you going back to Mount Kisco? You'd be like, well, it's my home. Like, I'm going back to Mount Kisco. And so I was
didn't
like, okay.
feel like he was going without support, Scary.
Yeah. And he had, this is what people find really crazy is, he had written permission from the Taliban to be there. Like, we have like a document that says, it was okay. But what happened was the Taliban is it's not monolithic anymore. And so a different faction within the Taliban
didn't get the memo, didn't get the
many
note
complicated reasons, didn't get the memo. And then they took him hostage, and he was there for 105 days. And it was just like, it's so hard to articulate how awful it was.
How did he get out?
Really a combination of different things. So a deal had to be brokered between the U.S. State Department and the Taliban, which happened around day 70. But then it was really tricky to sort of get from the deal being brokered, which was partly brokered by the State Department, but also by one of his brothers who went back into Kabul, sat down with the Taliban, and sort of brokered a deal alongside his father. But then from day 70 to day 105, it was about sort of getting the U.S. government to do their part to make the deal happen. That was harder than expected. And it's all wrapped up in so many sort of foreign policy decisions that I was like, oh my gosh. I originally went to school for international relations. I was like, okay, where are those books?
Yeah.
And having to sort of dive, we all really had to figure out what was the way that we were going to get from, okay, on paper, everybody said this should happen, to this happening.
How did the two of you actually meet?
So we met, also a little crazy, because a friend of mine is a conductor, and she was the conductor of Afghanistan's first and only all-female orchestra. And her family was stuck in Kabul when the Taliban took over. They couldn't get out. We connected, and she was looking for help to get them out. And I said, of course I'll help. And I called everybody I knew, and I just called everybody. And you said, can you help? Can you help? And then something would sort of work. And in this case, what ended up working was I was watching a special on CNN about Afghanistan while I was trying to help them get out. And I saw a special on Safi and on his the NGO that he had just formed to get people out. And I called a friend at CNN and I said, hey, can you connect me to that guy? I think he can help. And they did. And I said to Safi, can you please help my friends? And he said, look, we have thousands people on our list that are trying to get out. Happy to put them on the list. But if you want to prioritize them, the best thing you can do is come to DC and volunteer for us. You'll be in a position to sort of help them most of all from there. And so I did. He got them out, and they live in Queens now. And it's a beautiful family, 5 kids. 2 of them are working in theater now. And then we, got to know each other through that and started dating pretty quickly.
That is what I think makes you remarkably extraordinary, because the willingness to take action, the willingness to sit in that humanity, and then want to expand and be an extension of that experience and create art with it.
When you have a sense of the world beyond yourself, you have a different vantage point and you become a greater artist.
Yes.
It's that. And that's absolutely what you.
And that's felt with you. I mean,
yeah.
Truly, just being in your presence, you feel that there is a roundedness about you. As silly as it sounds, my therapist talks about we're all disco balls, right? We're all disco balls. And all of these little mirrors that are placed in just ever so slight degrees reflect the light in a different way. It still makes us us. We're still that disco ball, but it is tens of thousands of different experiences, point of views. And I feel like your disco ball, not that it's complete, but you are a full disco ball, Sammi.
She actually is like a 1980s disco club, really. She has more than one disco ball.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? I know that like that picture is ridiculous, but truly, when I sit in your presence, I'm like, ooh, she turns ever so slight and I'm knocked out by another story or another light or another experience.
Another beam. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. That means so much. And I feel like I'm excited. I had a book when I was a kid that my parents gave me called Children Just Like Me, that was about kids from like 60 different cultures. And you would turn to a page and then it would have like, what do they wear here? What do they eat here?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so interested and excited. I don't know why, by like different cultures and the lives of different people around the world. And then when I was in middle school, I had like pen pals in like 10 different countries. And so I think that that's sort of like excitement by how wide the world is.
Understanding.
You grew up in a world of storytelling. As you were saying, you were 3 years old sitting in a world of storytelling, and storytelling is the most powerful tool for change that there is. And so you were completely entranced, and storytelling became your focus, and how someone else's version of that same story could change so much is part of what makes you great.
Your parents too, like your dad being a documentarian, your mother
Right.
being a producer of these grand stories like Dirty Dancing, and those two, the right and left brain, or however we want to define it. Your dad is documenting and showing stories that are real. They're real life. And your mama is creating these stories that are wonderfully imaginative and of fiction. Does that make you kind of the whole of the two, do you think?
I think that's the dream, for me at least, in the sense that like I love so many different forms of storytelling, and I think my goal is to become skilled enough at each of them that when presented with a given story, I can say, oh, I think the right way to tell this one is this medium, or the right way to tell this one is this medium, or first this medium and then this medium. Versus, because I think so many theater directors, you'll direct a play and then someone will say, okay, we're going to now adapt it into a movie. Thank you so much. And for me, I'm like, I want to sort of take what I've learned from both my parents, have the skill set to be able to say, I got so immersed in this when I directed the play. And now I have the skill set to be able to be part of that adaptation of telling it in another medium. Or maybe it shouldn't be a play after all. Maybe it should just be a film. Or maybe this shouldn't be a film, it should be a play.
And
so
you've done
I
that.
think it's
You produced a documentary over COVID.
With her dad, right?
Yeah.
I did. With my mom, actually.
With your mom.
Mom.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
No. My dad would like to think he was involved. So
Phantom. It was about Phantom, right?
Yeah, about Phantom and cats in South Korea.
It's South Korea.
And so at the time I didn't really have experience in making documentaries, but I'd watch, my parents do it for many, many years. Parents are both immunocompromised and they couldn't travel anywhere. And we were all really interested in this story. And so I was like, wait, I can go to Korea. I can like be the boots on the ground and document this as it's happening. And y'all can tell me what to do, sort of be in charge of the post-production and everything. So we sort of brought our strengths and abilities together there and worked on it together.
Forgive my
and
ignorance. What was the narrative? Were they the first to come back during COVID? Like, what was the angle there?
Phantom was at one point the only large-scale English language musical running anywhere in the world. It survived when nothing else did, basically. And so a lot of the protocol that we ended up implementing on Broadway were taken from the Korean theater industry
Ah,
and how they figured out how to come back safely. And so I sort of embedded with those two shows and followed the journey of those companies, not only from the perspective of like, what are the protocol? How do they handle hygiene? You know, what was social distancing, blah, 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 but also from the perspective of what was it like emotionally for these performers to be performing when there's no live theater anywhere else in the world, basically, you know, I mean, within reason. What does it mean to be sort of keeping the flame alive? And then we also followed Andrew Lloyd Webber in London as he was getting these reports from Korea and figuring out how to implement them on the West End. And so it was like looking at that tie
oh,
as
that's so interesting.
Do you ever do any writing? Do you have any dreams to write yourself a beautiful musical or a beautiful play? And because you seem like you have a lot that you
To
could
say. Mhm.
well. You know, I never ever thought of myself as a writer until I started having meetings about film and TV. And when I would have these film and TV meetings, producers or studios, they would say, "So what are you writing?" And I would say, "What are you talking about? Like, I'm a director. Why would I be writing anything?" And they were like, in our world, it's like common / expected that directors are writing their own work. And I tried. And I think that what I found was that in film TV, it feels easier because so much of for someone like me, because so much of it is you're writing visual descriptions a lot of the time,
Mm,
versus in theater, you really have to be
dialogue.
so
Yeah.
good at dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something I feel good at, like putting myself in the voice of another person.
Mhm.
So I've started writing a few things, and I think, you know, most of all, it's a lot of people, when Safi got out of captivity, a lot of people and studios and producers, whatever, were approaching him and saying, you know, can we buy the
We want
rights
your
to
story.
your
Yes.
story? And he said, thank you so much. I need a moment. But now, you know, it's been a year and a half. It's a story that we're really passionate about telling because there's not enough focus on Afghanistan right now. And there's nothing, you know, one of the things I found when he was going through this and I was looking for resources, there's nothing really in art except Argo about hostage crises and unlawful detention.
Wow. That's surprising to me, Sammi. Important.
It really is. And it's like, you know, now because we're connected with a lot of other hostage families, like we have friends whose family members are currently being held around the world, and it's something we really want to like bring focus and attention to. So we're trying our best to write that story in 2 different mediums, and we've sort of accepted that we'll do a pass at it, and then if it's not good, we'll send it to a writer friend and ask them to make it better.
It's challenging
But
because, first of all, the American attention span is very, 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 very short. It's only been 2 years ago, yesterday, that everything went down in Afghanistan, and it's just a blip on the radar
Yeah.
now. And also, I think people are saturated with all of these things in the world that they have zero control over, or at least that's how it feels. And they're saturated and they don't know what they can do to help. And you may have a good heart and you may wish that you could do something, but you almost can't hear it anymore because there's so much happening, you know?
But if it speaks to the human spirit,
Yeah.
it will stick. Again, I don't know what action can be taken thereafter, but I can tell you there was a image of a Syrian refugee. He was 2 years old. He was lying face down on the shore.
I remember
And
that image.
It is embedded in me forever.
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
cannot close my eyes without seeing that little shape, that toddler. And so it has affected, I may not be making huge impact with the Syrian people or the refugee crisis along all sorts of borders, but it has that image has inspired me to take other actions toward humanitarian efforts. I don't know this little child's name, but boy, has it changed the course of a lot of my walk through the day. And if art can do that through Safi's story, then you have something remarkably special. As you always say, Mary Lee, we've got to speak to each other's hearts and souls and not color, religion, race, creed, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
The other part of that, the other faction of that problem is that we don't trust the news anymore.
Nope.
You know, we don't trust what we see on the news. It's all fear mongering. It's all distraction. It's all, oh, look over here. So over here, somebody can steal something. You know, it's we don't know who to trust. And so when that happens and there's no really clear leadership, It comes down to the storytellers.
That's right. The
Find the
first
truth.
person storytellers.
Yeah.
Can I ask if
Oh, sure.
you all feel that your voices can't adequately tell this story, will you find someone of Afghani descent or Pakistani descent to tell it for y'all?
I think so. I think Safi will be a writer on it regardless because it's his story. And I think that we'll sort of try to figure out what the right voice is from there. But I think that there's so much, about Afghan culture and the way that this crisis is understood from an Afghan perspective that really can't be understood unless you either are Afghan or spend every day with Afghans. That is something that it's really important to both of us, and why we didn't say, sure, Netflix,
Yeah,
go
right.
hire whoever you want. And also, for us, it's just like, it's so emotional. He almost died, but also on the level of like, from our personal relationship perspective, we've been dating for 4 months when he was taken. We talk about how, like, for us, like, we actually really fell for each other and got to know each other on
He was in captive.
smuggled phone calls from captivity, which is like so crazy, but also like so personal. And so that's why we were really like holding on to it to make sure it's told in a way that, we feel is truthful.
There's something vulturous about some of the people who come so quickly in to say, "Ooh, let us tell you a story and profit from you and use you as a prop." I find it so offensive.
There are also just some stories in our lives that, regardless if it's 70 years or a year and a half, every time we tell it, in the retelling, we relive. And in the reliving, it's very difficult to put that on paper or express yourself in a way that is still close but distanced enough to actually tell the story, because you're still living it. This nurse is still living being a caretaker to Eva Peron, and that may never go away, So you have to honor what that is as well before putting a pen to paper in place.
You have to be able to detach emotionally, yet still have enough emotion to express the story in a truthful way that will bring people in. And
tender-hearted, thick-skinned.
Yeah.
Tender-hearted,
exactly.
thick-skinned. That's what I tell myself in telling every story. You can't take it personally, but your heart needs to be so open that you can receive and the audience can recognize themselves. Tender-hearted, thick-skinned. That's kind of my...
so good.
When I teach yoga, I tell people this all the time. When we replay the stories, in our mind's eye, and we replay it, your physical body doesn't understand that it's not happening in the moment. So it's actually causing wear and tear and pain on your physical body because your mind is replaying, and the mind and the body are so linked that you're causing destruction within the body. So you have to find a way to separate yourself when there's someone who needs forgiving, when there's a story that needs to be told, but you can't keep reliving it because it's very unhealthy unless you can find that balance. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Hey, I don't know anything about how to dance in Ohio. So give it to me, sister. Tell us all we need to know about this fun, extraordinary piece that will be on Broadway in the fall. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. We're all really excited. The show is about 7 autistic young adults at a counseling center in Columbus, Ohio, who go on the journey of preparing for a spring formal dance. And it's about the trials and tribulations that they go through and the triumphs ultimately. And it's based on a true story. And there's a documentary by the same name made by the incredible Alexander Shiva that has won a lot of awards. It's on HBO. This is an adaptation of that story. I've been working on it for about 3.5 years. The great honor of it, among many things for me, is that the incredible Hal Prince was the piece's original director. It was the last thing that he was working on before he passed. And so part of the project of directing it for me has been sort of figuring out what he originally wanted it to be. I have a lot of audio recordings of meetings with him about the show and a lot of copies of his script that have his writing in it, and have used those to try to sort of excavate what was his intention. How can I try to honor that while, of course, bringing some of my own thoughts to it, which has been really meaningful and like such an honor, because obviously he's the legend of all legends for directors.
I think I'm a little in awe and in shock because my voice teacher, who I've been with since I was 11 years old, her name is Jill Goodsell. She had a daughter, Jilly Goodsell, who is severely autistic. And these humans with autism, their age varied, but up until Jilly was 30, so in her teens until she was 30, there would always be the Valentine's Day dance at her school, at the community center.
Wow.
And I can remember she was very focused on socks. She loved the feel of socks, the pattern of socks. And I can remember one year getting her ready for the Valentine's Day dance, and these sort of thick, really cozy red socks with white hearts on them. And it's remarkably special. So that is the material with which How to Dance in Ohio is about. My heart is like broken wide open. How beautiful. How beautiful.
That's amazing. That real life thing.
How did it land in your hands?
It all feels very full circle. So I went to Hal Prince's memorial, not because I knew him well, but because I was just like, his legacy meant so much to me. Yeah. And I was sitting there and they brought out all the composers that he and lyricists that he had worked with. And then at the sort of end of the line, there were these two very young people, Jacob Yandor and Rebecca Milosic, and they talked about how they had been working on a show with him before he passed and how it was about autism. And my brother's autistic. And I was like, whoa. And just out of interest, I like followed them both on Instagram because I was like, I just want to follow this show. Like, my God, like Hal's last show. Like, I want to know what's happening. And this was sort of many months after he'd passed. And then Jacob, the composer, DM'd me and was like, hi, I saw your production of EVITA, and I'd love to like get coffee with you. And we just got coffee, and it was sort of just like a friends thing initially. And then they said at some point, look, we need to bring on someone to carry on what Hal started, and would this be interesting? And then I went through a number of interviews with the producers, and here we are.
That rest is history.
Yeah.
Did you have your opening date? What's the date?
We opened December 10th.
Are you already in rehearsals for it, or not quite yet?
Not till October.
Okay.
But we have we did like Broadway and Bryant Park. We did Broadway Con. It was like, and I think, so the stars of the show are 7 autistic young adults who are all making their Broadway debuts, and they're all like such extraordinary performers. And so it's really meaningful to, it's my Broadway debut, to like go on the journey with them. Like, we're all kind of like, wow. So
gratitude and love. I bet
meaningful.
that room is just filled with gratitude and love. Yeah.
Completely. It's the happiest room I've ever been in. And I think that part of that is that the way that the process has been structured, mostly by our wonderful producers, has been every step about sort of intention and care and access. And so, making sure that we have time, making sure that everybody has what they need. It's small, but it goes a long way.
Yeah, being equitable in that space, because it will look a little different. Yeah, sure. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, we've arrived at the 5 questions, but just before,
we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
If your life was a book, what would you call this particular chapter of your life?
Oh, putting the pieces together.
Putting it
sometime.
together.
Yeah. I feel like I've been sort of running on different like trains, and now it feels like everything's kind of converging, which I'm excited about.
Okay, you're in jail. And
could this be too soon, Mary Lee? You just turned the tables. Now she's captive.
No, you're in jail, and you have to call your fiance and say, "Come and get me." What does he assume that you have done to land yourself in prison?
Tax evasion by accident.
By accident.
Had that answer, but that's probably what most of us would land in. I didn't check the what box. I'm sorry. What? Yeah, right.
I say it only because it just happened to me and he had to fix it. Not like I didn't mean to. I did it by accident.
Negligent tax evasion. If I were to walk into your closet, is there a piece of clothing or jewelry or garment that you will keep forever because of the memories it holds?
I now have so many Afghan clothes because it's like part of like marrying into this culture is that it's encouraged and expected that you're going. At first, I was like, oh no, I don't want to like appropriate a culture that's not mine, and they were like, no, 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 you have to. So I have like so many beautiful handmade Afghan dresses that Safi's cousins have like made in Pakistan, and then we've shipped here.
So
Gorgeous.
beautiful, beautiful. Okay, tell me, what is your perfect sandwich?
Just cheese. I really
Just
like
cheese.
Yeah.
Is it melted or
Yeah,
just
is it
straight up
grilled?
slices of cheese?
I like grilled cheese.
Oh,
Okay,
grilled cheese.
okay. Particular bread? Are you a rye, a sourdough, a wheat?
A whole wheat. I mean, I
wheat.
tried to be healthy.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
one
like a
simple
pickle on the
woman.
side? No pickles.
Chips?
Yeah, yeah.
She's a chip
But
girl.
cheese is really the center of it for me. I'm
It's all about
just
the cheese.
like a big
Okay.
cheese person.
Because you're still in your 20s. Wait till you're in your 50s.
exactly.
Cheese will be your
Cheese
nemesis.
is gone.
Yeah, I've been warned many times about my cholesterol, and I still.
If you were this is the last one. If you were a nail polish color, what color would it be? And what's the cheeky little name of that nail polish?
Okay, this is a weird answer. I would say clear. I don't wear nail polish a lot, and I would call it chameleon so that it could adapt to different
blend.
situations.
Love.
I love
You're
it.
extraordinary.
You
I
certainly
like you
are.
a lot, a
Thank you.
lot, a lot. All good things on
Baby
all these
shark.
ventures. I can't wait to see pictures of the wedding, of your Broadway opening, all of the good things. Be well, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much for
you so
having me.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank
Bye.
you again.
Thank you.
Holy crap. Who's she going to be when she's 50?
I mean,
She's going to own the world.
doesn't she kind of knock your socks off?
She's
And they-
just so awesome. Oh, she's
Awesome.
just awesome.
And then, she's like these deep answers with these deep inflections and experiences. And we're like, you're so awesome.
No, but it's
Sammi."
not only that though. She's so awesome and has all the energy to like do
Yeah.
all the awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
some of those things I'd be like, really? I'm so tired. Please don't make me do these things. She's amazing. Like she has vision, she has passion, she has energy,
Yeah.
she has a world view.
And none of it comes off as a Labrador puppy. Like none of it is like,
No.
it's all of those things wrapped up, like you said, vigor and energy. Yes, but it is poised and contained. And
Mhm.
it all seems very manageable and doable in her hands.
What did you say when she said that was agism?
I think I literally said, you're hired. Thank you. You're hired.
How cool is that she said that?
Beyond. Yeah, because not that I was dragging my feet in meeting her. I've been invited to the adults table a couple of times with different shows, but never from soup to nuts, where I got to choose the director, choreographer, help with the designs and stuff. So in meeting with different directors, I just thought, oh golly, this is going to be a great conversation, but do we really have the time to entertain Sammi because of her youth, because she's so young? Boy, if that teaches you anything, it's like, do not cut people off at the pass, because they will surprise you. It could be for the positive or it could be for the negative. But anytime you think you've got someone all figured out, I will tell you, sure, listen to your instincts, and that will guide you in a certain way. But if their name or it keeps coming into your path that you are meant to meet with this person or pick up the phone to have a conversation with this person, the universe is telling you something.
Yeah.
And again, it might surprise you. It may be the finality of, no, that person, great. Now I know that really wasn't meant to be a relationship to be nurtured, or holy crap, I never would have seen her
That's how I
artistry
felt when I met her.
groundedness coming. Yeah.
That's how I felt, because we kind of met through the whole Afghan avenue, but then Christine Schwartzman, who produced EVITA, was on her way to Rwanda like that week. So it was like all of these crazy angles that all kept pointing to like, I'm supposed to know her. I'm supposed to know her, So yeah, I think she's amazing.
And we've said it on this
young
podcast
woman.
so many times, but your path to wherever you're going, especially in this industry, because it's not rung by rung up the ladder. The paths are going to be twisty, twirly, all different ways. but she has been one that's been planting seeds now for so many years. And so when the garden starts to flourish, that's why she has the energy to do all this stuff, because she's been planting those seeds for so long, watching them grow, keeping tabs on it. So it didn't just come out of nowhere. She hasn't been gifted all these opportunities. No. She really has plowed her field, and here she goes. She's sowing.
She doesn't have to expend all the energy learning about the environment. She's
right.
She was planted in.
She is of the environment. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Amazing.
It is amazing. And her story continues to unfold in ways that just make my jaw drop, because like you're saying, how does she balance all these projects? It's also the emotional balance. You know, we all went through COVID, and for a lot of us, we're still carrying the hardships, the hurts, the change of life, you know, the change of rhythm from that. Now imagine your loved one being in captivity by the Taliban. Now imagine... I mean, we all had our struggles in varying degrees, but when I see her and she's still thriving in all these ways while still processing an event that we could.
It's an
epic event. Yeah. It's remarkable.
That story she told about buying a blazer to look older. That's adorable.
That aligned with me too. I went to a Catholic private school from first grade through 8th. Then I went to an all-girls private high school freshman, sophomore year. Then I was going to transfer to an arts high school, public, arts high school. And I was like, what do you wear to something like that? And I similarly, people thought I was a teacher when I transferred, because like back in the day, right, big hair was all the rage in the late 80s and early 90s, right? So I had huge hair, and I'd wear like the fuchsia earrings that matched the fuchsia belt, which matched my fuchsia, suede little pumps, little kitty heels. And I'm going to school,
and
like
I'm
going to work. Shoulder pads.
Yeah.
But then I get there, and because it's kind of a beach environment, I went to a school in the Seal Beach, Long Beach area, and everybody's just laid back, and they're looking at me like, who is this person with the matching trapper keeper? What's going on here? So yeah, a bit fraudulent, but what I thought I needed to do to project that I was, interesting and mature and so funny.
The 80s with the huge earrings and the leg warmers.
Come on.
And the shoulder pads. Yeah. And I would put so much Aquanet in my hair to try to get it to stand. And the purple eyeshadow. Oh, the 80s. Oh, the beautiful 80s.
Yeah, the fashion of the 80s, not great. I will stand by the music of the 70s and 80s until I go. Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah. No, there's no better.
No. The 70s and 80s, no better.
Yep. All right, my friend. Well, I love you. I'm going to go put on some Luther Vandross now because.
Oh, nice.
Luther.
You could just put on some yacht rock, and it hits all of the good tunes. I adore you. I love you. Goodbye.
Love you too. Goodbye. Stages podcast is produced by Stephanie J. Block and Mary Lee Fairbanks in association with iHeartRadio. It can be heard on the iHeartRadio podcast and iHeartRadio Broadway, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Please join our cast by signing up at stagespodcast.net, listening, sharing, and leaving a 5-star review. It all makes such a difference in getting the word out. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again soon.